Oh, hey, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Efficiency Bitch podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Leone. This podcast is dedicated to all the women out there who are aspiring to have a career while raising a family. And bitch? Well, that's more than a name and even an attitude. We use it as an acronym. It's for bank, inbox, time, connection, and harmony. Each episode is labeled according to the correct topic so that you can efficiently find the topic that you're looking for. I'm here to tell you, you can have your cake and eat it too. The trick is finding efficient ways to get through the have-tos so that you can make room for your best life. I can show you how. Let's get started. Hey, Lucy, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be on the show and I'm feeling really good.
We started the conversation with me saying good morning, and then I realized you're not in the US, so it's like, what, 5 p.m. or something for you? So good afternoon. I'm so glad you're here. Lucy, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about you, where you come from, how you do life, and we're going to talk all about harmony and a little bit of feminism today. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I'm really excited too. It's a pleasure to be here. My name's Lucy Brand, and I support women to become the empowered, wealthy, turned-on queens they were born to be. And I do it with both a kind of spiritual flair, but also systems and structures as well that we bring into place because we are living on planet Earth right now. And I also am the founder of Energetic Essence Healing.
That's awesome. That's so good. So how did your journey begin, and how did you start doing this work?
I think it all started a long time ago, mainly as a healer to overcome my own issues and problems. Because when I was in my mid-20s, I experienced a traumatic burglary. And it impacted my life quite considerably and my relationships. And I believe that love and money is a very similar energy, right? So the first part of my journey, I would say, was learning to receive love and fall in love with myself. And that happened because I met my husband. It was him mirroring back to me what he saw in me that caused me to fall in love with myself. And so then I get on my soapbox a bit about this when people say that you have to be, perfect, or you have to have done loads of work on yourself. When I met my husband, I was a train wreck and he wasn't in a very good place. And we grew together and we helped heal each other with love. So that's where it all started. And then because I was investing lots and started my own business and healing business, then I think the money mindset came, because it was all like, oh, money, how do I handle this? I also had a lot of shame because I'd had some inheritance, and then that all went in the business and I wasn't making money, and I felt like I was making odd bits here and there, but I didn't have the what I call earthly human structures to support, and the education to support me in growing my money and looking after it and nurturing it. And then I also found that although I was working on the mindset, and I do believe beliefs are a big part of it, I also believe energetics are a big part of it, releasing trauma in the body. But I also think that it's not all about that. You do need the systems and structures to support your growth. And there's no shame in learning about that at any age.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love to talk about money as one of the things I think has given me an unfair advantage to some of my peers is my very first job was as a bank teller at age 16. And so I learned about money very, very young, and women in general have not had an education about money ever. And how could we? Our parents are not I was saying before the recording, my mother was able to get her first credit card at age 30, legally allowed to get a credit card at age 30. And so how could one learn about money if one wasn't allowed to have money? So I do feel like that's an unfair advantage for myself, but it is an advantage that I've had that others have not. And I really try to pass that forward onto other women. So what are some of the things that you've learned that you can share about money and money management that you bring to your clients?
Yeah, great question. So one of the things I do get you to uncover beliefs that might be going on, particularly passed down from parents. And also I look at, because I work with women, I also look at ancestral trauma around money and love, and see how that could be playing out. Any vows that you've carried with you from past lives. So that's kind of more of the spiritual side of things, because that I've seen it play out so many times that because in past lives, again, women tended to be a lot worse off than they are today.
Yeah.
If you didn't bore a son, you could lose your house and become destitute. So there's a lot of kind of energetic resonance sometimes in someone's frequency that I need to clear up and heal. And then that creates what I call a vacuum. And that's when we can fill in with some maybe new coding, new beliefs, new energies. But that's great. That's on the frequency level. That's on the spiritual level, if you want to call it that. But then we do need support and structures here on planet Earth, because that's the place we're living right now in this timeline. So what I mean by that is like educating yourself. So it could be reading books, it could be attending, you don't call them seminars anymore, I don't think, but like master classes, that's it.
Yeah.
But was back in the day when I was doing it with seminars, but like master classes, like there's so many free resources to help you and educate yourself. And then even beginner's guide to investing, but what I found is the thought of that might be terrifying to someone because you feel like you don't belong in that arena. And that's what I would love to empower women and others who have not had the advantage of playing in that playground of money and wealth and understanding the rules to then I would use healing techniques when the fear came up, when the imposter syndrome comes up, when those feelings of I don't belong. Or I found in my own personal journey and with clients is like sometimes it's almost like a shutter comes down and you're like, I can't do this. And it's so weird, like the brain plays out in a certain way. And so getting past that on an energetic level and soothing yourself, because as well, you might have had financial trauma. A lot of us have, like maybe you had an inheritance and you didn't know how to manage that money. Maybe you were given a loan and you didn't know how to manage that money. Maybe you took out lots of credit cards and then you didn't, because no one taught you about compound interest, and then you couldn't pay them back. None of that's your fault. But learning about investing might trigger some of those old traumas, and that's when you've just got to be so nurturing and nourishing and find some healing techniques that work for you. And it's baby steps.
I love it. So the harmony chapter of the book and of the podcast is like the ribbon that brings everything together, and that always touches one of the other pillars, always. So I love that this one is connecting bank, because it is the one that seems to get left out most often. But I really do believe, like, if you don't heal the trauma or the shame or the even just icky feelings that you have about money, you will never be able to master it. Or maybe I shouldn't say never. It's part of the process, right? Like you have to understand where you came from to understand where you're going. And it's such an important piece of the puzzle. How do you help people with past life trauma? Is it hypnosis that you're working through?
I use EFT tapping. I find that's really good. Or also I speak light language. I don't know if you've heard of that, where I channel. It's kind of like, it's the highest frequency I've ever channeled. So I'm practiced in shamanic healing as well, but that's more of an earth-based frequency. So Earth is a very dense planet, whereas light language is light angelic realms. So it's the highest frequency I've ever channeled. And what happens is when I speak it, it kind of comes out my mouth in sounds and noises, depending on what I am channeling, the way I see it, because I'm very visual, is it breaks up trauma with light in the body. So I can energetically read someone and I can be like, oh, your left ovary's got a bit of like, it needs a bit of healing there. Or like, yeah, I could see like your cervix might need a little bit of healing there. Because this, again, with money, it's about receiving it, but it's also, love is about receiving as well. And what a lot of people don't realize is that there's a cord, an energetic cord, if you like, that links between our heart and a cervix for a woman. So what happens is, if you experience heartbreak, so let's say loss or, you know, trauma or something like that, the ending of a relationship, that actually can impact your cervix and your womb, which is your source of creation, your powerhouse, basically. So it's good to do healing on both. And that, when that happens, that's when it kind of clicks into place that you can receive, because the whole of you feels, I don't know, I haven't got a better word other than worthy. Like, you feel deserving on all levels as a woman at that point. But then, as I mentioned, then you'd need the like education and the systems and structures which work for you to sustain that frequency of holding it. So my best example for this is that I think it's 80% or 70% of people that win the lottery lose it within a year. And so what's happened there in energetic terms is they've expanded their frequency to receive that amount of money, that large sum. But then when they've got it, their limiting beliefs kicked in, their I'm unworthy, they didn't have the systems and structures in place to invest it or whatever. And so then, like an elastic band, they snap back. And then that's why they lost it all again. So yeah, so the kind of two ways that I do that would be, we're looking at the past and looking at your energy signature now, and then also like dividing up your salary if you're in a job, or if you've got your own business, dividing that up in percentages so that you can see and start investing and see where, start saving for things. And I feel like making it fun and a game, like that's the best thing. I remember because I did, when I started my business, I started investing this and that, and I put it on a personal credit card because I didn't know. Like, and there's a lot of people out there that are like, just put it on the personal credit card, pay it off later when you make it. And so, yeah, and I just didn't realize. And then the panic attacks of like, in the middle of the night, how am I going to pay for this? But then I worked my arse off, and I started like making it a game. And then every time I paid more off each month, it was like a celebration dance and like such a good thing. And then even when I cleared it all, I still checked the balance because I was like, I'm so proud of myself. Look at that, it's 0.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like to say people always know how much money they make, but they very seldomly know how much money they spend. If you ask somebody, how much do you make? I make $10 an hour. I make $30 an hour. I make $50,000 a year. Nobody's going to tell you how much money they spend a month because they don't know. And those numbers are really important. And if you're starting a business, you're going to spend more money than you're bringing in because there is upfront cost to preparing something that someone wants to buy, right? And without a really solid understanding of how that's going to work and where that money's coming from, you can set yourself up for some disappointments. Hopefully not failure, hopefully not something that can't be undone, but disappointment in earning potential later on down the line. So I think that's really important. You said something that was very interesting to me about the lottery winners, and the rubber band that snaps back. And it is something that happens a lot with people who get out of a bad relationship. They tend to find that same bad relationship all over again, or lose a lot of weight. They tend to snap right back into putting the weight back on and then some. And is that just the same cycle that is that frequency that you're talking about, where we're just drawn to the same things if we don't heal it?
Yeah, but I also feel like it's about shifting your mindset. And also it's about, I heard someone say once, everyone's looking for the elevator. Why don't you just take the stairs? And like, it's just that baby step to just keep on the two levels. So on the mindset level, well, three levels, sorry, the mindset level, the energetic body level, and then also your actual reality. So like another example is if you're calling in love, if you've just got a single bed, where's your partner going to sleep? So it's like little things like that, they actually make a difference to our subconscious, kind of preparing the ground almost, like, you know, dig those ditches, prepare the ground. And that works for love and money. So sometimes if you're in a pattern of maybe always calling in the wrong person and unhealthy relationships, there could be some healing to do there, because there could be that could be a pattern that is ancestral or past life, or you've just picked up, that's what you've been exposed to. But it could also be because you don't know any better. So one of the things I love to do is, some of my clients, if they are calling in love, I get them to make a vision board of, I'm not a huge fan of vision boards because I think the universe is moving, it's not static. But if you need to upgrade, I get them to put couples on there of relationships they love. So like, one of my favorites is, they're Americans, they put Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton, I think. I freaking love their relationship. Like,
they're
it's
cute.
so cute. So I'm like, like celebrities, or it doesn't have to be, but people whose love you look at and you can see the love and respect that goes on between them. Gwen Stefani had quite I think difficult last relationship, so that was quite public, and make a vision board of it. And then it's the same with money. Like, for me personally, when I thought of, I don't know whether this will land if most of your audience is American, but maybe when I thought of a wealthy woman, I thought of a really old woman. I thought of like Margaret Thatcher with this grey curly hair, stern and harsh and uncaring. So I had to do my own vision board of wealthy, empowered women that were creative, you know, and that really helped shift. I stuck it up in my office, so I'd see it every day. That really helped me shift. Like, there are examples, because there's I'm not going to remember the name of it, but there's a thing in the back of our minds that filters out what we see. So I think it's something like we only filter out, or we only see like 80 things, but our subconscious is filtering out thousands or millions. And so you're always going to be wanting to see the same thing to reinforce your beliefs. So that's why sometimes a vision board like that, and seeing constant examples of wealthy people, or wealthy, loving people, that was a big one for me, that care, or successful relationships, helps you refocus, and then you'll start seeing them everywhere. You'll start calling them in. Law of attraction.
Your point about the visual of a wealthy woman is so important, I think, because if I think about a wealthy woman, I automatically think like Oprah Winfrey. Like, I think of a woman, a celebrity woman who is an anomaly of the world. I don't think of somebody I actually know. But if I think of a wealthy man, I can visualize almost instantly men I actually know in my real life. But the women are the celebrities. So we've got to shift that, where when somebody visualizes a wealthy woman, it's somebody that they actually have in their reach, so that they can learn from real life examples and be able to, and wealth doesn't necessarily have to mean millions, but it should mean the ability to live the life you want to live, right? I talk a lot in my book about money should not be on your heart, but it should always be on your mind. It is what keeps us going. Everything you see or touch or wear is bought by money. Their currency is just the way that it is. Unless you're planning to move to a small village in Africa, potentially, you are going to need currency of some sort. It just simply exists on 99% of the planet at this moment in time. It just is.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it is the currency. And I think you've got to get on board with that. And if like you've got hang-ups about it or anger towards money, I'm like, it's not money's fault. It's the people wielding the money. So wouldn't it be the best thing to empower yourself and become wealthy so you wield the power and you vote with money, so you can invest in charities that you believe in, you can take care of your family, like health, you can take care of yourself. It might be massages or getting your hair done or whatever it might be, or investing in renewables, you know, like just all these things that you could do with wealth, which are actually nurturing and sustaining not just yourself but your community and the planet. And we need more of us. We need more of us.
We definitely do. There's this new generation that's coming, I hope will have more education than our generation did, right? Like we're second generation women who've been allowed to have credit cards. My grandmother was never allowed to have one. Like that, well, I shouldn't say never. She was really old by the time she was allowed to. And I say really old. She was like mid 50s, early 60s by the time she was allowed to have a credit card. That's too late in life to learn. And then, you know, my mother being 30 when she was allowed, and it's something I've taken for granted. It's hard to remember sometimes that it's really a very recent thing in the last, at least in the US, 40 years since women have been allowed to have a credit card. That's it. That's just, it blows my mind that that's it. Is it a similar timeline in the UK for when women were allowed to have credits and bank accounts?
I'm not sure of the actual figures, but from clients that I work with and from other people, even if that has changed, it's almost like they've given their power away to their partner. But I've also seen it in businesses as well. Like women started businesses and then they've gone, no, I don't want to deal with the money because I don't know anything about it. And then they've given their power away to male investors, and there's nothing, the problem there is that they've given their power away. They haven't educated themselves because they're the ones in the seat of the business. Or even if it's a partner, it's a shared responsibility of the house, the kids, the car, whatever. And God forbid you separate or anything like that. But like I've just seen it so much where women just give their power away, and it's like, oh, the usually it's the husband for the people I work with, and they're doing all the finances, mortgage, the car, like everything. So they've not got a clue. And yeah, that to me just sounds really frightening. I have to know.
I agree completely. I know more than one woman who was married and was fine until one day she was no longer married and no longer fine because she had no idea how to earn money, what she was spent, like just totally in the dark about it. I'm a big believer in financial literacy. All of my clients that we do bookkeeping work for, I demand that we get on a call once a month so that I walk them through their financial reports. You can't just hand your money over to me and let me drive. I'll drive, but I'll be behind the wheel, I guess, so to speak, on getting the reports together, but you have to be part of where we're going because it's too dangerous, as you say, to give your power away. I think that's a really good way to put it. Completely. Lucy, where can our audience reach you? What's the best way to find you?
You can find me on Instagram, which is at Energetic Essence Healing, or you can find me on my website, www.lucy-brand.com.
Awesome. Well, we will put it in the show notes. Thank you so very much for being here. I hope you have a happy Halloween, and I hope you get trick-or-treaters.
Thank you so much for having me. I've absolutely loved this conversation, and hopefully your audience will too.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much.
Well, that wraps it up.
Thank you so much for listening. If you're new around here, please be sure to leave us a review on any podcast platform you're listening to. And you can always reach out to me to let me know what topics you're interested in hearing about, or maybe telling me someone you think would be great for the show. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at EfficiencyBee. Until next time, see ya!